Welcome to the Sportscast. It is the Tyler Turner Show. Today's date, February 7th, 2021. Please check us out on Periscope, YouTube, and on iTunes. And on iTunes, please leave a review. I would appreciate it, and we would appreciate it very much. Well, today, also check us out on Sportscast1 on Twitter and the sportscast.net. And actually, since I said the sportscast.net, that is it's a very good that's something. Go to sportscast.net and check out one of our newest articles, because that is pretty much what my whole podcast is going to entail, is going over the 2021 team talent formula. So if you go to sportscast.net, it is the fourth article down, and it's by Tyler Turner, and it was posted today. It was posted probably about 6 hours ago. If you open it up, as I'm doing right now, as I'm on here, you open it up, and here we go. We're going to go to the 2021 team talent formula. I explained that this is the third consecutive year that I have actually done this formula. I release it always after the second National Signing Day. By that time, everyone who's going to declare, underclassmen, have declared for the NFL draft. Also, you have all the signees and the potential signees for the 2021 class. For the most part, 99.9 have signed. Now, this year, the only thing that's a little different, and I kind of mentioned it as a caveat in my initial statement to my formula, in the little paragraph above it, I said that this year's a little different because of the COVID pandemic, and because individuals that were seniors this year get an extra year of eligibility. So when I went back and looked at the rosters, some of those, if I didn't know, I actually didn't count them on the roster. I would do my research as much as I could. Some guys I knew that they did. In most of the message boards, or somewhere online that said that they had decided to use their extra year. But there's a few that I don't think have made a decision yet. They actually have till March 1st. And so they have 3 weeks to decide if they are going to. Obviously, I'll be listening. Anyone that I possibly know that I didn't count, or possibly that I maybe did count. For the most part, I didn't count. I really didn't count very many seniors unless I knew they were coming back. There's some seniors that they declared, and they said they were declared their intentions to come back. And so obviously I counted them, but some I didn't know. So if guys are deciding not to come back, I'm going to be removing them, and they're going to be going on their way to the NFL draft or whatever they choose to do. I think a lot it'll depend. It'll depend. It'd be wise if do not have an NFL future. It would be wise to take advantage of the extra year. You get an extra year of education. I don't specifically know. Maybe they're giving them only half a year. I don't know how they're going to do that, because most scholarships that are written for Division I athletes are written for 4 years. And so if they do the extra year, it would depend. I don't know. Maybe they just have them do the extra half year for the football season, and then they have to graduate or get their studies done by then. Scholarship only covers a half year. I don't know if that'll be as problematic for Power 5 schools. For non-Power 5, Group of 5, especially FCS schools, they don't have the money to just keep on paying for everyone's scholarship for an extra year, especially since there's a limit of the amount of scholarships they can have normally. And then you could, if everyone decides to come back for their extra year, let's say you have 14 seniors and they all decide to come back, and you're at the 85 limit anyways, you have to pay for 99 full scholarships. That's really expensive in a year where athletic departments did horrible. I don't know. I just don't see it happening. I think that tell individuals maybe that, I don't know. There has to be a way for them to be just very transparent with people and say, hey, we can't cover this. Anyways, my team talent formula explains it specifically on there. I'll go over exactly how I did it, and because I wrote it at the very bottom, and I'm actually going to start from the bottom so this works out. My formula explanation to it is using the 247 composite scores. I give 6 points to the highest rated players that are rated above 0.9950 and above on the 247 composite. They get 6 points. Players rated 0.9850 to 99.49. They are given 5.5 points. Oh, my mouth's all over the place. I'm talking all over the place right now. Okay, anyways, players rated 90.9750 to 9849, they're 4.5 points. And then, and so kind of I'd level it as 6-point players or top 10 level players. 5.5 point players are usually top 25 level players. 4.5 points and above players are usually top 50 level players. And then players 95.50 to 97.49, 3.5 points. That's a top 100 level player. And then I do 2.5 points, players rated 93.50. I'm not going to actually go through it all. This is redundant. I basically rate it 10, 25, 50, 100, 150, 200, 250. And then I go down the tiers to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different tiers of the 3 stars. And instead of the 247 team talent composite rates it, each individual gets their own value, but it's a much more complicated formula. It uses the Gashonian distribution formula, and that is a bell curve, and it gives every player a value from the highest to lowest, and that's kind of how they level out the numbers there. Mine is a lot more simplistic. I basically rate players in groups. So top 10 players, they get all the same value. Top 30 players, they all get the same value. Top 50. In the end, I'm my last 2 formulas, and I didn't do it this is the first time I've done it this way. I've done 2 other formulas, but my formulas so far have been pretty consistent with the team talent composite. I mean, they're not exactly the same, but they've been pretty similar. And I think this is going to be the same because at the end of the day, if you have 5 top 10 players and then every other team is none, you're going to probably have a better roster rating. And that's kind of how, I mean, the 5 stars get the most points. All my 5 stars get the most value. So if you have 15 5 stars like Alabama or 17 5 stars like Georgia, you're going to have the most points. That number's going to add up because at the end, I add all the numbers together, and basically you have 5 6-point players, 4 5.5, 3 4.5, and I just add them all together. 6 times 3 plus 5.5 times 4 plus 4.5 times 3, and just so on. And I go down the rosters until I'm at the bottom. I actually do, if you're a 2-star, you don't get rated, but I go all the way to the bottom of 3 stars. 3-star, like if you're the very lowest 3-star, you get a 0.05 point rating. And that's very similar to the Gashonian distribution. It's kind of like that. Like if you're a really low rated guy, like low 3-star, you get like very minimal value. So I'm looking forward to seeing some reactions. I shared it with my buddies over at West Coast CFB. Obviously shared it on the site, and anyone else who wants to look at the information, go ahead. Anyways, this is going to be a quicker podcast, probably about half an hour, 45 minutes. So I'm just going to go through the top 25, and I also have the next 5 out. So I have the 5 teams that just missed the top 25 with their baseline talent. So this particular formula is just baseline talent. I am going to do something else. I'm going to do a talent plus production. I'm going to just add a little kind of secondary formula. It's going to be talent plus production. I'm going to add whatever returning production is coming back, a weighted percentage of it. So I think I'm going to do 33% of the weighted production plus the baseline talent to kind of give, because I did a rough draft and it did change the numbers a little bit because some teams that have a lot more returning talent, and so it's returning production, guys that have actually produced, guys with experience production. I'm adding that on a baseline. Just change the numbers because some of these teams, as I go through the numbers, some of these teams are very close. There's definitely tiers to the talent right now. They're definitely not 1 tier, obviously, and there's not 2 tiers, and there's not 3. There's probably like 4 or 5. I stopped at 25 because 1. I don't really have time to do more than that. I did 30, and I also know some couple teams just outside the next 5 out because I tried to figure out which teams are there. I have an idea what talent is on each team. But my main reason for kind of because this is my 3rd year doing the team talent formula. My main reason for kind of stopping is because I had never seen a team outside the top 25 in regards to baseline talent, according to the 247 team talent composite. And even from my knowledge from who's made the BCS championship, like if you don't have top 25 talent, you're probably not going to be playing for a title. And as the numbers have showed, and as the data has showed, if you don't have a top 25 talent, you actually a team has never made the college football playoff. So no team without top 25 talent has ever made the college football playoff. And actually only one team outside the top 10. So I'm going off the top of my head. Well, if you add Oregon's 4-year ranking, because the team talent composite for 247 Sports started in 2000 and was incepted. Its inception was in 2015. So in 2014, Oregon and Ohio State played for the national championship. That was the beginning of a college football playoff. And Oregon's 4-year recruiting average was 1920. I'm doing this in my head. It was 14 plus 12 equals 26. 26 plus 19 equals 45. 45. 66 was 16 and a half. So you could say their 4-year average, you could either round 17 or round it, whatever way. It was 16 or 17, which would have been outside the top 10. But in the 6 years of the team talent composite, only one team outside the top 10 has even played in the championship game. There has been 5 teams that have made the playoff outside the top 10, but to play in the championship game, there's only been one. But if you count Oregon, they probably would be from what the recruiting average. And if that's not a perfect science, especially now, the transfer portal has changed everything. Like there is still some sites, Affluent Sports is one, and there's a couple other sites that go off of like a 4 or 5 year recruiting average. That's not accurate anymore. There's too many guys who hit the portal. There's some teams that have had tons of guys hit the portal from the rosters. So they're not even close to what their 4-year average is. And then there's other teams that have done extremely well in the portal, like Florida. Like Florida has gotten 5 former 5-stars to come to them from the portal. So 5 5-stars. They have 7 5-stars on the rosters. 5 of them are from the portal. So they transferred from other teams. If you actually go with Florida's 4-year average, Florida's 4-year average is significantly lower than what their baseline talent says because of all the transfers they've had in the portal. Miami's another team that's been pretty good in the portal. USC has done very well in the recent years in the portal. So USC had number 64 ranked roster. If you do their 4-year average, 60. Okay, so they had number 20, number 64, 84, 8, 92 plus 4, 96. Their 4-year average is 24. Well, I'm going to tell you where they are. They're way above 24. They're a top 10 team. and you look at the talent on the roster, they have 50% blue chip players, they have double-digit top 100 players, and they have multiple 5-stars. So that's much better than but the big thing is they've been really good in the portal. They've landed, 3 top 100 guys, including 1 5-star. So you have to take the portal into consideration because it's the 4-year average. I just think is just not. It's just not good. It's not accurate. So it's plain and simple. It's just not an accurate indicator anymore. And if you're going to actually do that, I would say 3 years are better. To go after the 3-year because just of the movement in the portal, especially guys that are juniors or seniors or redshirt sophomores that aren't playing, I would say if you're going to do that method, do a 3-year average. That's going to give a more accurate measurement than 5 years, not at all. 4-year, not anymore. 3 years, probably the best of the, if you're going to go with that method. But anyways, back to my point, not to get off track. I know I tend to go straight like phew, birds flying, ADHD disorder gone bad. But plain and simple, I don't even know what I was going to say. But okay, plain and simple. Back to what I was saying. But anyways, if you don't have top 25 roster, you're probably not going to make the playoff. And so far in 6 years of the team talent composite, no team has. And then very few outside the top 10, to be honest with you. And to make the championship game other than one team in 6 years, only one non-top 10 team. And to win a championship, there's never been one. Even if you go back to the 4-year average one with Ohio State, their 4-year average is way inside the top 10. If you go back even farther to the teams that played in the BCS and won it, Florida State, way better. Alabama, way better. Alabama, way better. Auburn might have been the last team that might not have had a 4-year average that was greater than 10. I would have to go back and look. I have no idea. But it's been a while. Plain and simple. You want to give yourself the best probability. You're going to need to have top 25 talent to even give yourself any consideration. If you want to give yourself the best chance and have a roster that is probably most competitive and the most probable to make the college football playoff, top 10. The data shows it. Anyways, let's start off next 5 out. The next 5 out and what would be number 30 going backwards, TCU at 57.9 points, Maryland 59.9, it's 29. 28 would be Ole Miss, 60.15. Arizona State, 62.95 would be 27. And the team that's closest to being in my top 25 that is just outside is Stanford at 65.25. Stanford, my first two formulas were inside the top 20. According to the 247 Team Talent Composite, they've been inside the top 20 all 6 years of it. So for them to be outside of the top 25, let alone the top 20, shows they've had some significant attrition, and they've also not recruited very well. And that is the case of their last 4 classes. They've had 2 classes that were 41 and 51. And they also had several guys leave early to the NFL. And last year, I think they had 12 to 13 guys hit the portal and transfer out. So between transfers, early draft entries, and not very good recruiting classes, Stanford's talent level is now sitting just outside the top 25. Okay, number 25, UCLA Bruins. They have 0 5-stars, 19 4-stars, and they have 4 top 100 players. Quick note on them. They haven't recruited that great, but they've been very good in the portal. They were able to get 3 different former blue chippers into the team from the portal this year, including top 50 running back Zach Carbonet, who went to Michigan. He's from out there in Thousand Oaks, California. He transferred back. I can't remember the other couple guys' names, but they got a 4-star from Texas A&M, and they got a 4-star from I can't remember. They actually got like 6 guys from the portal, but 3 were blue chippers. So that really helped them. They also had a lot of guys come back. A lot of guys that could have headed off to the draft decided to come back. Even a guy like Dorian Thompson-Robinson, he didn't declare. And then they had a lot of guys that were seniors, and they decided to use extra year eligibility. Guys like Britton Brown. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but they did very well with having guys come back. They actually bring back the second most production in college football next year, 91% production. So it could be a little better next year. A little more talent, a little more production coming back, a little more experience. They're a team to watch out. Number 24, Nebraska, 66.35 points is what they came out to. They don't have any 5-stars. They have 23 4-stars, and they have 2. That thing is making noise back there, and it's annoying me. They have 2 top 100 players. It's actually forgot to put the 100 on here. Gotta go edit that in there. Any notes about Nebraska? I guess the thing is they have actually recruited at a top 20 level the last 3 years. They've had 2 top 20. They've had 3 straight top 20 classes. I think there were 18, 20, and 20. So you were saying if you went by that average, they should probably be going inside the top 20, and they probably would. Actually, I know they would. The problem with Nebraska is not only have they had about 20 to 25 guys transfer out of the school, they have lost several high-rated guys and other guys that were just productive, maybe not as high-rated. So production just hurts your team. High-rated hurts your score in this because obviously the higher the rating out of high school with your recruiting ranking, the better your score is going to be. Wan'Dale Robinson, a former top 100 guy, he transferred out. They also lost a guy like Keyshawn Johnson who signed last year. Keyshawn Green, sorry. He transferred out. Henry Gray, who's a consensus 4-star, he transferred out. Fleming, I forgot his first name. Fleming, he was a wide receiver. He transferred out. And then they had several other guys like J.B. Spielman, who was just a very productive player. They've had tons of productive players. Maurice Washington actually ended up being expelled due to some personal indiscretion. So it's been a lot, man. And I look at them, and I remember when Scott Frost came there, was it 3 years ago now, and he had a roster that wasn't great, and he had guys that left the program, and he's just like, I'm going to recruit, and I'm going to get these guys in there, and it's going to take some time. But the problem is they're leaving. The better players that he's recruited are transferring out, so he's only bringing back like the 70th. He's ranked in production. He's only bringing back about 72% of his production, which is not as good as you would like, especially for the fact that he had so many guys leave. So he had younger guys he brought in, and so many have transferred out that he's still not bringing back much production. I don't know about Scott Frost. I'm not so convinced that it's going to work out there. They're going to have to be very patient because it might be way longer than – it might be 3-4 more years. And he has to recruit even better because this year's class wasn't as good. Number 23 at Kentucky, 66.4, 0 5 stars, 23 4 stars, top 100 players. They have 4 top 100 players, and guess who they got? They got Wan'Dale Robinson from Nebraska, former top 100 player, productive player at Nebraska. He added a 4-star. He added a top 100 player to them. Kentucky, actually, if they hadn't gotten Robinson, take away 3.5 points, they would have been outside the top 25. But because they got Robinson, they're inside the top 25. That shows you how close these teams are. These rosters are very similar. Number 22, Wisconsin, 68.3. They have 2 5-stars. They have 14 4-stars, and they have 4 top 100 players. Once again, this is best if you're following along online, sportscast.net, and it's number 4 link. It's Team Talent Formula. It's best if you're following along. I don't have a sheet where I can actually show you the teams. I wish I had the software that I could be able to bullet point every single team up there as they come up, but I can't. So I'm just walking through as I'm looking at it on my screen. So if you want to check it out and follow along, sportscast.net, Team 2021 Team Talent Formula article by Tyler Turner. It was posted today. Anyways, Wisconsin, they're number 22. Wisconsin in the team talent composite. So I just went back, checked it out beforehand. I was saying, what has exactly been the trend with Wisconsin? So the initial team talent formula, they were number. Now I forgot. I'm gonna try to wing this because I had it in my mind. The first team talent formula, I believe they were like number 40. No, sorry, team talent composite in 2015. They had the 41st ranked roster. Then they were 37, 3 straight years. And then they got to 36 in 2019. And then 2020, they were 27 in 2020. And then and that was about where they were in my formula. In my formula, they were the next 5 out, and they were number 3. So they were 28 in my formula. Well, now, according to my formula, they're 22. I believe they're going to be in the top 25 according to Team Talent Composite. And Wisconsin has been the team that has been maybe the closest. It was in 2018, I want to say. They went into the Big Ten championship game with a 12-0 record. And they lost to Ohio State. They went on to win the Orange Bowl over Miami. If they would have made it that year, they would have been the one non-top 25 roster to make it. So the fact that Wisconsin, who's been notoriously very competitive with lesser talent, is actually getting better guys. They actually have 2 5-stars, a couple 4 top 100 players. They actually have better players and a very good culture, a good, well-coached team, a team that has an identity. If there's a dark horse, if they could somehow get through that season undefeated and they upset like an Ohio State in the Big Ten, they're a dark horse team for the playoff. They would fit in the top 25, so it actually would even make sense. So anyways, they're number 22. Number 21, South Carolina, 68.75. They have 2 5-stars, 21 4-stars, and they have 4 top 100 players. Don't have much to add to them. Their roster didn't get better at all this year, but they're able to stay up there somehow. Number 20, Florida State, 70.9 points, 0 5-stars, 34 stars, 2 top 100 players. In the team talent composite era, up until last season, Florida State had a top 10 roster every single season. In my formula the first year, they had a top 10 roster. But my goodness, bad recruiting, really bad attrition, guys transferring out, heading to the NFL. They have lost just an unbelievable amount of talent. To think that Florida State doesn't have any 5 stars and only has 2 top 100 players in the whole entire roster is just incredible. Florida State probably was one of the pioneers of blue chip recruiting in the recruiting era. Like I said, they probably pretty much lived in the top 5, top 10 of recruiting rankings. They haven't the last couple of years. They've been 19, 22, and 23, and more so than that, they've had absolutely horrendous attrition. God, I don't even know how many guys have transferred out. It's probably been close to 30. So, and blue chippers galore, top 100 guys, 5 stars transferring out, 5 stars heading to the NFL. It unfortunately started with Jimbo Fisher, then Willie Taggart, and then he got fired, and then eventually Norvell had to take over that mess. It's not in a good position. Florida State is that's going to be one. It's one rebuild. Let's just say that. Number 19, Tennessee, 87.6. They have 2 5 stars, 33 4 stars. Top 100 players, they have 5. They're another team. Absolutely been just shipwrecked by attrition this cycle. They had 1 5-star and 4 top 100 players that transferred out immediately after Jeremy Pruitt got fired. Wanye Morris went to Oklahoma. Keyshawn Keys went to Oklahoma. Aaron Gray, a 4-star, went to Oklahoma. Henry Toto, who knows? I hope he goes to Oregon, but we'll see where he goes. J.J. Peterson. Jared Guantano went to Washington State. I think I named like 6. I mean, their attrition has been really, really, really bad. And so their roster talent, they had a top 15 roster last year. They were actually on the upward swing. They had double-digit top 100 players. They had 5 stars. But obviously that roster's not looking as good right now. They're trending the wrong direction, kind of like Florida State. Number 18, doom and gloom. We're going to go the opposite direction. North Carolina, 88.2. When I did my first team talent formula 2 years ago, I did my top 25, and then I sketched out the next 10. I went back and looked at my sketching. North Carolina was about number 33, and I think that was about where they were in the team talent composite. They were like 31, 32. Well, Mack Brown, he came in there, and he is just recruited like a madman. He's had 2 top 15 classes. He has 2 5 stars, 28 4 stars. He has 10 top 100 players on his roster. And his roster is now a legitimate top 20 roster. It's trending up, and they have maybe the best quarterback in college football in Sam Howell, a guy who's a potential top 10 pick. And that's a dark horse team to make the playoff. I mean, they don't play Clemson during the regular season. I just checked that out today. If they can somehow find a way to go undefeated and upset Clemson in the ACC championship, the North Carolina Tar Heels, that's a team to watch out for. Good quarterback play and some young talent. Now, it's a little young, so I do wonder if they need another recruiting class because it's only 2 top 15 classes. And another thing there's an article out there today that no team has won a national title without a top 10 recruiting class in a 4-year period. And I really think it's very difficult to win without top 10 talent. So you're probably going to have to need 1 or 2 top 10 recruiting classes, or you need to be like Florida, getting 4 or 5 stars from the portal and having them play at that 5-star level. Number 17, Washington, 93.3 is their points, 2 5 stars, 38 4 stars, and 6 top 100 players. Now, Washington didn't necessarily have the best recruiting class. They were like 33rd, 34, but they had a lot of guys come back for the extra year of eligibility. Their 3 previous classes were all in the top 20, and, bringing back most of the guys and having 3 consecutive top 20 classes prior to this one, they were able to stay there. Pretty much similar. Their talent looks pretty similar to last year. Really not much different. Last season, I think they had one less 5-star. They probably had a couple more 4-stars, and they had about the same amount of top 100 players. So they kept talent in place. And so this season's a big season for Washington because Chris Petersen left. Jimmy Lake's first recruiting cycle was not good. I mean, number 34 rated classes is not going to get it done to compete for the playoff. It isn't. And you have to have top 25 at least. So this is a big year because they bring back experience. They bring back the 15th most production in college football. I think they bring back 82% production. Some really good defensive players and some good, really quality offensive line and experienced offensive line. If Washington's going to make noise and try to turn it back around on the recruiting trail and get things moving in the direction Chris Petersen have it, they have to have a good year this year. I think this is a year that they pretty much have to have 9-10 wins. Number 16, Auburn, 94.05. They have 2 5-stars, 34 4-stars, and 7 top 100 players. Auburn's another team that got hit really bad with attrition. They had several former blue chippers that left the team, transferred out after Gus Malzahn was let go. That's to be expected. The recruiting class wasn't great. It's like number 30. So they took a step back. But that's not bad. Their roster's not bad. So they can come back. They can come back with a top 15 class this year, and they'll be back up there. But not a great class. And Brian Harsin better. Because, Gus Malzahn was not that bad a coach. Anyways, number 15, Penn State, 99.6 is their points. They have 1 5-star, 43 4-stars, and they have 10 top 100 players. Penn State didn't have a great recruiting class this year. It was 21, but actually it was like this year, the 20, 21, 22, those composite scores on 247, if you know our 247's recruiting rankings work, were much lower. So Penn State had a class that normally wouldn't even be in the top 25 when it came to composite scores. They also had some attrition. They had guys head out early in the NFL. They also had a couple former top 100 guys that transferred out. And they also, the year before, lost Justin Shorter, who was a 5-star, and Isaac Slade, who was a 5-star. So they've trended a little the wrong direction because I did my formula and they were in the top 10 my first 2 formulas, and in the team talent composite they're in the top 10 2 years ago. They were just outside the top 10 this year. They're still in the top 15, but I think the roster maybe is not. They need to turn the recruiting around. They're another. Penn State and Washington are 2 teams that they have to. Because they have coaches that Jimmy Lake's newer, but still took over for a guy that's pretty much an all-time very good coach, and his first class wasn't very good. So I think he needs to prove that he's going to be a good coach too, so that he can get recruiting up. Franklin, just a bad cycle and then not a good year, 4-5 season. If he can come back and win 9-10 games, because he's actually started this year's recruiting cycle pretty good. He's already in the top 5. It's early, but if he could win 9-10 games, 11 games, then I think he can get recruiting back to where Penn State was recruiting. Because as low as it was this year, it just was not a very good class. And even the class the year before was 15, which is not bad. The top 15 is top 15 class, but they signed 27 guys. So that's an awful lot of guys to sign. And so they signed a big class and they finished just inside the 15, and then they signed this year's class and they were like outside the top 20. So he's going to need to turn that sucker around to be able to compete with like Ohio State. Number 14, Michigan, 104.25, 3 5-stars, 42 4-stars, top 100 players, 7. Michigan actually top 10 class. So the last 3 classes have been top 10, top 15, top 10. So he's actually – Harbaugh's starting to turn around. He kind of fell off. He had that outside the top 20 class. He had a lot of transfers, a lot of attrition by Michigan, either guys leaving early for the draft or just transferring out, losing high-rated blue-chip guys, but not as much attrition. Had a couple guys come back for next year's senior eligibility and a pretty good recruiting class. Michigan, I don't know how good they're going to be, but they level it out. I think they stepped it. They'd fallen off. They didn't have top. They were ranked in my formula last year. I don't have the numbers on me right now, but I think they're 16 or 17. So they went up a little bit. So in the right direction. Notre Dame, 13, 114.6, 1 5-star, 42 4-stars, top 100 players, 14. The good news, this is very similar numbers to this last year. This has been similar numbers to Notre Dame the last several years. The bad news, I think Notre Dame's kind of hit its ceiling. They usually get one top 10 class, couple top 15, top 20 class. But they're never even close to top 5. They don't really get a bunch of big guys in the portal. They kind of go with who they go with. And they're kind of always around slightly over the 50% blue chip ratio. Double-digit top 100 players, single-digit 5-stars. They rarely have had multiple 5-stars. They're a good team. Brian Kelly has made a national championship. He's made 2 college football playoffs. He's had, in his tenure there, he's had 5, 6, 10-plus win seasons. He's been the most successful coach at Notre Dame. Problem is he gets blown out in the Rose Bowl. He gets blown out in the playoffs. He gets blown out against Alabama, Clemson, or whoever the good teams he plays. And I just don't think he's going to be getting good enough guys to be able to change that. So I do really think Notre Dame's kind of hit its ceiling. And its ceiling is making the college football playoff and usually not being very competitive. The numbers are just showing it. They don't change. And this year, I think they're going to take a step back because they lost the second most production in all of the FBS. They lost the most production of any team in the Power 5. They only bring back 49% of the production. No one brings back less production than Notre Dame. So young roster, talented, good, but now it's inexperienced. Notre Dame's, in my opinion, is a team that I got penciled in for 8-9 wins. People are going to say they're in the top 10 because people don't look at the data. They don't see what's out there. Look at the data, look at the numbers, add it up yourself. With the talent he has, with the experience he has, they're going to lose 3 or 4 games next year because they have a tough schedule. They could lose. A team like Wisconsin's a team that definitely could lose next year. USC, I could go on. Anyways, number 12, Miami, 117.9. They have 2 5-stars, 46 4-stars, 12 top 100 players. Sneaky good job that Manny Diaz has done in Miami. Sneaky good job. Top 15 class, top 20 class last year, but it's been the portal. He's been tremendous. Tyreek Stevens, former top 50 player from Georgia. Charleston Ramble, a productive player for Oklahoma, 4-star guy. He had Jalen Phillips. He's gone now, but a 5-star. He still has Bubba Bolden, a former top 100 guy on his roster. He has done really well. And then there's been guys that have just been like under the radar, Quincy Roche, the Harrison kid from Tennessee they got this year, and then De'Aaron King. They weren't necessarily high-rated recruits, but they were very good group of 5 players, and they've come in and they're doing good at Miami. He's done a pretty good job with talent acquisition. He's gotten the roster better. I've been actually I'm impressed. He's been not bad. He got better this year. I don't think they'd be Alabama, but their schedule's not that hard after that. They have to play North Carolina, but don't play Clemson. They have an experienced quarterback if he's healthy. He had the injury. We still be seeing if he's healthy. But if he's healthy, talented enough roster, weak enough schedule, dark horse, they bring back the 3rd most production in all of college football, 91%. They bring 95% production on offense. It's number 1 in college football. Experienced roster, fairly talented roster, an experienced, talented quarterback. You don't know. It could come down to they could be the dark horse in the ACC. Still think it's Clemson, but keep an eye on them. Number 11, Texas, 118.5, 3 5-stars, 47 4-stars, 11 top 100 players. Still a very good roster for Texas. They did have a number 6 rated roster according to my formula. Team Talent Composite actually had them at number 5. Tom Herman recruited great. He had 2 top 5 classes and a top 10 class. It was not the talent. Unfortunately, didn't win big games. Sometimes just didn't look very good. And that impacted a lot of things. A lot of guys transferred out they lost several former blue chip guys. Jalen Green, a former top 100 corner. Jadarius Jackson, former top 100 quarterback. Kevontae Ingram, a consensus 4-star running back. Several guys, those transferred out. Brendan Eagles, Caden Stearns, former top 5-star. They both headed early, whether they're ready or not, to the NFL, just because why not? Texas hadn't been very good. Joseph Ossai headed early. He is going to be a good player in the NFL. So long story short, their roster got hit a little bit. They still have a very good roster. They still have 50 blue chip guys in their roster. They are below Oklahoma. And believe it or not, in the 6 years of the team talent composite, Texas has had a better roster every single season than Oklahoma on paper in regards to baseline talent. Oklahoma's won 6 straight Big 12 titles. Hasn't mattered. That's why coaching matters. Well, now Texas, guess what? You don't have as good a roster. Can they pull off the upset and win the Big 12 this year? That we'll see. I think it'll take a couple of years. I think Sarkisian's going to get – they have the best recruiting base in all of college football, state of Texas. They'll be fine. They'll be fine. Sarkisian can be good. If he can do a good job, have a good team, they'll be fine. Number 10, USC, 135.3, 3 5-stars, 43 4-stars, and 14 top 100 players. I already mentioned USC. Had a terrible class last year, number 64. Number 8 class this year, done a heck of a job in the last couple of years in the portal, landing Brew McCoy, former 5-star from Texas. That's another guy who left Texas, by the way. Chris Steele from Florida, top 50 guy. Ishmael Sofser from Alabama, top 50 guy. Kevontae Ingram, guy that I mentioned from Texas. Another guy from Texas, Xavier Alford, a 4-star guy. So they've been really good in the portal, and that's kept that talent up there. They're going to be top 10 again. USC's never been outside the top 10, and they're going to have a pretty good roster. Now, they only have 60. They are number 67 in returning production, and that's going to go into my next numbers. Not as good. Not as good as the second worst in the Pac-12, and that's where – USC's had the best roster in the Pac-12 by a lot most years, and they've only won 1 Pac-12 title. They're not going to have the best roster this year, and they bring back the least amount of experience more than anyone other than Stanford. So we'll see. They still have talent. Number 9, Oregon, most talent in the Pac-12. They will have the most talent this year. Mario Cristobal is recruited like a madman, 141.8. They have 4 5-stars, 47 4-stars, top 100 players, 16. Oregon's a team. They can get good play from the quarterback position. They have the talent. They have the conference that's not as good. They could possibly be a team that should or could be in the playoff. It's definitely a probability. The guy who could play on the quarterback position. But if they do, they have an Ohio State game. But Ohio State returns some of the least amount of production. Talented, more experienced. Oregon returns the 9th most production in all of college football at 86%. So a productive, experienced, talented roster. Let's see. I'm really interested. I'm an Oregon. I like Oregon. I'm interested in that game just for the fact that talent on Ohio State's undeniable, but Oregon's talented and they're more experienced. If for some reason that game isn't played in Ohio State, game on. In Ohio State, I have a tough time seeing them being able to get through in Ohio State. Just a tough place to play, and Ohio State is ridiculously talented. Number 8, Oklahoma, just a little bit above Oregon, 142.3. Very close right there. It's literally 0.5 points. 7 5-stars, 49 4-stars, 16 top 100 players. Really, really like Oklahoma's roster. I think it's very, very good. More than anything, it is 5-star blue chip quarterback. Spencer Rattler's going to probably be one of the best quarterbacks next year. Blue chip receivers, Jaden Hasselwood, Theo Weiss, Marvin Mims, Bridges, Trajan Bridges. I They probably signed a couple more this year. Billy Bowman, is he playing wide receiver? Is he playing wide receiver or D-back? But anyways, Oklahoma is going to have a good team next year. They're going to have talent. They're going to actually have a better defense now. They bring back top 40 production. I can't remember off the top of my head. I think it's like 79% maybe. So pretty good, pretty experienced, talented quarterback, a lot of baseline talent. Best roster in the Big 12, best team in the Big 12. Yeah, they're a playoff threat for sure. Undoubtedly, they've already made it four times, anyways. And I think they have the ability to be a better team next year, more competitive team in the playoff. Who knows? Are they the team that they're sitting around where kind of an LSU and Clemson was for several of their titles? I would consider where some teams I'm saying I think they could make the playoffs. They're a dark horse for the playoff. Oklahoma is a dark horse for the national title. I really think they're a dark horse for the national title because they could have elite quarterback play, and that could bring you a national title. So they're a dark horse for the national title. Will they win it? Time will tell. I would still not. No, I would not favor them. I would probably put them at like third or fourth going into the season, but they're a dark horse. Number 7, LSU, and I moved it the wrong direction. LSU, 143.75, 6 5-stars, 42 4-stars, 21 top 100 players. Still a great roster for LSU. Have had some transfers. Eric Gilbert, a top 10 player from the 2020 class, he transferred out. And, they have just immense amount. I mean, the amount of guys they lost from that 2019-2020 team to early draft entry. I think they lost like 7 or 8, and then they had like 4 guys opt out. So they literally lost 12 guys as early draft entries. That's not how the guys graduate. They had another 7, 8 guys graduate. So they lost from the production. They lost like 80% of production. I'm exaggerating, but they lost the most production. I think they lost some of the most production ever from one year to another for any team in college football history. I think it was something like 67% production. They brought back by far the least amount of production. They had a terrible year. But you have to take that into consideration. They were playing a lot of guys who hadn't ever played. Talented, yes, but not experienced. Bad coach, defensive coordinator hire, didn't like that. Anyways, things are fixed up. New OC, new DC. They bring back more production. I think they're in the top 40 this year in returning production. And they have the number 7th baseline roster. They should be better. LSU will be better. I don't know how good they'll be. They had such a bad year last year, but they'll be better. Number 6, Florida, 151.95, 7 5-stars, 54 4-stars, and 17 top 100 players. They've landed 5 5-stars. 2 were 6 points worth, and 3 were 5.5. Math, a little quick math here, 16.5. They 22.5, 28.5 points in 5-star transfers. If you take that away, they're sitting just a little bit above Texas, so they'd drop. They'd be the number 10 team. They'd be down near Texas. But instead, they're doing such an amazing job in the portal. They have the number 6 roster based upon baseline talent. Now, we'll see if those guys, they were 5-stars and they did have to transfer. That's not always a great thing. Justin Shorter and Lorenzo Lingard didn't do a whole lot last year. So far, they have not necessarily lived up to that 5-star rating. And so we'll see. Florida doesn't return a lot of production. They were in the bottom 4th of returning production. They're an interesting deal. I don't think they're a playoff team next year. I don't. I think they lost so much talent. I think some of the guys that are 5-stars transferred in, I don't think they've necessarily played that level. I don't think Florida's necessarily as good as their baseline. He's a good coach. He's led them to 3 straight New Year's Six Bowls, led them to an SEC title game last year. We'll see. I think that they might have. I just don't think they're quite as good. I would definitely put them at I actually see LSU being better than them next year. Let's just say that. Number 5, Texas A&M, 145, 44.55, 5 stars, 49 4-stars, 21 top 100 players. And I want to not go too long here, so I'm going to make this a little more brief. Jimbo Fisher's recruited amazing, 3 top 10 classes in a row. That roster, when he took over, was outside the top 15 in regards to talent. Some bad recruiting classes, attrition. Kevin Sumlin's program definitely had fallen apart a little bit. Well, he turned around, recruited like a madman, had a 10-1 season, won the Orange Bowl, was number 4 team in the final AP poll. I think A&M's heading in the right direction now. They are young. They're, again, the bottom 4th in returning production, but they have talent. I think I trust that roster a little better than Florida. I think A&M is better, but we'll see. New quarterback, some new guys at some key positions, so we'll see. But I like the direction they're moving forward. Number 4 is Clemson, 171.6, 11 5-stars, 42 4-stars, and 23 top 100 players. Clemson actually is more, when it comes to just straight blue chip players, they're more in the realm of Texas, Florida, Oregon, Oklahoma, LSU, but it's 11 5-stars that just puts them about 20 points ahead, and that's really where their advantage lies. And Clemson just continues to win no matter how they've had. This last year was their first top 5 roster they had. They made the national title game one year with the number 13 ranked roster. So they've not always had the best baseline talent, and they've done well, and they're now recruiting better, and they're now getting top 5 talent. So Bobo Sweeney, he's probably going to still be playing in the college football playoff every year. Chalk it up. Number 3, Ohio State, 207.6, 14 5-stars, 52 4-stars, 33 top 100 players. Loaded roster, nothing more to say. Now, they do only return 55% of production. That's the 121st ranked amount of production. That is bottom in the Big Ten, and that is bottom 4 for the Power 5. Ohio State will be young next year, but they will be talented. Interested in that Oregon game. Number 2, Georgia, 219.75, 17 5-stars, most of any team. 48 4-stars. Top 100 players, 34. Yep, that's all right. That's right. Kirby Smart, hey, he's had top 5 rosters pretty much every single year since he's been there. His results have been good. They have only won 1 SEC title, and they made it to the national title and lost to Alabama. They should have won that game. Since then, they haven't been back. They've not won an SEC title the last 3 seasons. He needs to break through because he has the talent. Georgia has the people to win the national title. They have the people to beat Alabama. They're the one team that really does of anybody. But you know what? Got to do it. Can't just recruit. Number 1, Alabama, 239.5, 15 5-stars, 64 4-stars. They have 79 blue chip players. Their whole team is almost all 4 and 5 stars. They barely have a 3-star on their whole entire roster. They have like 10. Anyways, top 100 players, 38. That's the most. Alabama's always going to be good. Sorry, guys. Alabama, Georgia, and Ohio State. Those 3 in Clemson, those 4. I mean, just based upon talent, it's tough. I think where you're going to look is those 4, you put them 1, 2, 3, and 4, and you can't go wrong. You're just hoping, if you're just like, I'm tired of the guys that go there every year, I'm tired of the guys that get all the blue chippers, you're looking in that 5. Your best opportunities in that 5 to 10 range, if I'm looking at roster talent. It's A&M, Florida, LSU, Oklahoma, Oregon, and USC. Thing is, A&M and LSU, they both play in the same conference as, and Florida, LSU, A&M, they all play in the same conference as Georgia and Alabama. 1, maybe 2. Only in 7 years of playoff, only once has 2 teams in the same conference made it. Sorry, ACC did. Take that back, ACC. So twice in 7 years, 2 teams. Once from the ACC and once. I still think, and this is wonky year, honestly, If it would have been a normal year, probably it might not happen. Who knows? Pac-12 was bad, but anyways, and Notre Dame's normally not in the ACC too, so that was another weird thing. But anyways, most of the time, it's not two. It's definitely not three teams. Three teams aren't going to make it. So Oregon, USC, and Oklahoma are probably the teams with the best talent. If they can really get amazing play out of the quarterback position, get into the playoff, they're probably kind of the dark horse national like playoffs. You could go as much. Miami could be a dark horse. Like I said, North Carolina. I don't know about Washington. They have to prove more at the quarterback position. But dark horse to play for the national title, maybe in Oklahoma, maybe in Oregon. USC's done so little with the talent they've had. I just have a hard time thinking them. Probably Oregon and Oklahoma, honestly, are your dark horse because they top 10 talent. It boils down to the quarterback position. I trust Oklahoma because they have Spencer Rattler. Oregon, we don't know. But if they can, also Oklahoma is not playing Ohio State. Oregon has to play Ohio State in our conference. I don't know who Oklahoma plays, but I don't think they have anyone that is. I don't know what they're not conference, but I don't think they have anyone that's like, whoa, that's a ring dinger. I think they might have. I forgot. I did see someone who they're maybe playing. Is it Tennessee or someone? Tennessee, come on, give me a break. I don't think they're going to be Oklahoma. I think it is Tennessee. They're not going to be Oklahoma. So I just don't think they have probably the better chance this year. If I was going to go dark horse, I pick 3 out of 4. Winner of the Alabama-Georgia game, Clemson, Ohio State, and then I would probably take Oklahoma, but then Oregon would be that one. They just have to play, or they have to play Ohio State and then win the rest of their games. So, anyways, guys, that's my team talent formula. The sportscast.net team talent formula 2021. I update it when players leave. I update it. I'm updating it daily. I'm on top of it. Go check it out, guys. Go leave a review on iTunes. And this took longer than I thought, but I thought it was a pretty insightful formula that I provided to the public. And go share it, go like it, and go comment on it. All right, guys.